Tom and Joan, thanks for coming on Nyberg and talking about Roses for Autism and bringing these gorgeous roses, which I wish we had smell-o-vision because they are awesome. They smell so beautiful. So we're going to talk about Roses for Autism, but to get to that level, we have to first talk about Pinchbeck roses out of Guilford. Right. Give me some of the history. At least 100 years old, or in the ballpark.
Right, close to it, in the 80s somewhere. My grandfather and great-grandfather started the business in 1929. They built a big greenhouse and wanted to sell roses on a wholesale basis to New York City and Boston flower markets. And of course, you know, stock market crash happened in that year,
thing,
right? In the 30s, the depression. So, but we were able to weather the storm pretty well. There was a large marketplace, a lot of population in the area on the East Coast, and people were still willing to use roses and needed them for weddings and funeral work and things like that.
So as a little kid, you're on the tractor. I mean, the whole family's involved in the rose growing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as a generation, I'm sort of fourth generation, and you know, things do sort of get separated into little pieces as the generations go on. So like my dad grew up right on the farm there. And I grew up adjacent to the farm. Would go over there on Saturdays and weekends, and that's where I used to go play.
So arguably probably one of the biggest greenhouses in the United States of America.
Yep.
You grew how many roses a year?
We would grow close to 3 million roses, 3 million blooms in a year.
3 million roses,
yeah.
And they went all over the country.
Yeah, mostly in the Northeast, mostly Connecticut, New York City, and Massachusetts. But we did ship outside of that area into other parts of the country.
So at one point, and give me the year, you shut down. Why did you do that?
Well, after the year 2000 or so, it was more and more of a struggle to keep the business going, and profits were getting smaller and margins thinner. And by 2008, we made the decision that it was going to be our last season, that we were going to close down. And we made the announcement in that summer and closed down in end of October of 2008.
And then something happens. Roses for Autism is born. And how does this, Joan, if you want to jump in here, how does this get started?
Sure. I think Tom actually should start it because it was really his
well, when I made
the
the announcement, a friend of mine...
People were sad, by the way,
yeah,
all over the state. They were sad.
I know. It was a tough decision for me. I mean, it was brutal. But a buddy of mine who was an insurance agent and a college friend of mine said, come to lunch, sit down, I have a proposal I want to make to you. And he has a son who's on the spectrum. Eli is...
On the autism spectrum.
Yes. And Eli is, in fact, he just turned 21, I believe.
Good.
And when folks on the autism spectrum turn 21, and this is where Joan might be able to help me,
okay.
Then they are no longer able to get help through the town for education and things like that. They
so
age
we
out.
need a place for these folks to go and to work.
He was looking at this down the road and knew that he wanted to try to help set something up for his son and for other people like his son. And he thought he could use the greenhouses and the farm background as a vocational training program.
And guess what? It worked.
And it's worked.
Joan, how does it work?
Well, it works where individuals can come to Roses for Autism and learn the necessary skills that an employer is looking for. So some folks come to us that have never had any work experience before. So we work with them about the importance of arriving to work on time. What's appropriate attire to wear to work? Right. How do you work as a team, as part of a team member? What's appropriate conversation to have at work? How do you take direction from a supervisor? When you're done with the task, how do you transfer over to the next task and take initiative to do that? So we really have individuals coming through and work in all aspects of the business to learn how to work in different team environments. And we really change things up as part of the daily business. You might be working on one task one moment, and then the priority of the business shifts, and we need to shift our employees over to the other focus of the business. And we work with individuals on the steps that they need so that when they're ready and they have those skills, then we can work with them in their community to place them in employment and what they're interested in doing. So they don't have to necessarily stay in the agricultural world. It's just kind of what our business is.
So many skill sets. These social. As you're talking, we're going to put up your website, rosesforautism.org, so folks can see.
.com.
.com, yeah.
Excuse me. So they can see what it is that you do. So once this marriage happens, Tom, and you have Pinchbeck Roses married
Right.
to Roses for Autism, are there any growing pains that happen, or is it pretty much synergy and it just takes off and you become a model for so many folks?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of hard work for sure. It hasn't been necessarily super easy, but I think it's been rewarding. It's been rewarding for me, and I'm pretty sure it's been really beneficial for all the folks coming through.
And you don't only grow roses, but you grow lilies.
That's right.
And Gerber daisies.
Right.
So you expanded on
We
the rose
did.
theme.
We had grown we'd had some experience on with lilies a number of years back, and also some Gerber daisies, and we sort of brought them back, and we've yeah. I mean
You've done it.
we've done it. Yeah.
Where are you trying to take Roses for Autism now? You're several years down the pike. You've got these magnificent greenhouses. I've been to them. You're doing some weddings, florists. You're talking about doing some other things. So how are you trying to grow this program, Roses for Autism?
So there's a couple of aspects to that. For the business side of things, Tom's business in the past with Pinchbeck was really a wholesale business. We want to expand that so that people can come to our Guilford location and visit us right at the retail site where they can come in and purchase our products. But we also have relaunched our website at rosesforautism.com, so people can send flowers anywhere across the country. We ship nationwide. And to look at us not only for Valentine's and Mother's Day, but when you have a birthday or when you have an anniversary, that you can come and order flowers from us from the business perspective. The training program, we can only have so many people at that location in a pull of maybe 30-mile radius coming in at this one site. And so we would want to expand that into different industries, into different businesses.
How so?
So, well, for example, we have a gentleman that is also in the floral industry that he puts together arrangements for supermarket chains, and he's approached us about having trainees come into his work environment and have an impact on his business.
That's
so
terrific.
yeah, it's really neat. So, and we can do that in any kind of industry. It's really trying to figure out what works for the individual and the strategies, and we'll also work with the employer and trying to find that match for them.
You're also trying to get to big corporations in the state of Connecticut as kind of an incentive for folks if somebody has a birthday in the corporation or if somebody has a big anniversary. And how are you doing that outreach?
Sure. So we have, we have great connections. I mean, and you're certainly a big supporter of ours. And we
Been
have
around a
lots of-
long time in Connecticut.
And there's lots of other supporters of Roses for Autism, and as well as our parent organization, Ability Beyond Disability, that are supporters. And so if anybody has a connection within a company, we try to go out and meet with that company to go over, we can do employee sales where Roses for Autism can come in and people can pre-purchase, and we can drop off the flowers. And instead of having to stop home and get flowers, we can come in and do that there, as well as the recognition program. So somebody does a job well done, instead of giving them a pin or something, maybe they can send them flowers or a gift card. We can do that. Or if the company is having an event and they're hosting and having a party, then we can do arrangements and bring arrangements for the table. So there's different ways that businesses can interact with Roses for Autism, and we're very flexible, and we'll work with whatever works for the company.
In your wildest imagination, Tom, when your family started this back in the near Depression, did you ever think that it was going to end up like this? Here we're going to close. You just can't,
Right.
compete.
I couldn't see growing roses again. I really couldn't. I had sort of written that chapter off of my life, and we're back. It's really great. I mean, I live I live in the home that my grandfather and great grandfather bought. They had the property there, so I drive home, and there's the greenhouses, and it was. It's just very heartening to see that.
It's a new
still
life,
going.
and there's
Yeah.
charity attached to it,
Yeah,
which is
it's
just
really
awesome.
great.
So go to the site. That's rosesforautism.com.
Right.
And if they have any inkling of getting on board or getting some folks on the autism spectrum, they should just get a hold of you, Joan,
Absolutely.
or somebody there.
Yes. Yes.
Best wishes. I
Great.
hope you go
Thanks, Ann.
gangbusters.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.